Welcome to our wonderful teacher, Mifi. And I simply cannot believe that it's already the final out of 8 times that we're going to meet this Saturday and receive so many precious teachings and advice and wonderful stories and anecdotes. And I'm simply mind blown by the authentic approach to the teachings and also how I can improve my own daily practice. So wonderful. Thank you for that, Mifi. And I would obviously like to mention to you that Mifi has said yes to lead a Tara, Chitamani Tara practice on April 30th at 10 o'clock in the morning. So I hope you will join in, and we will see there how we can lead such a practice and implement some of the teachings that we've been following these Saturdays. So I will post a link later on. And also welcome to all of you following us with the teachings here. So nice to see you all. And today's teachings will be on the daily practice and also the purification of speech. And thank you for telling more about that, Mifi.
Thank you, Lars, and I am really looking forward to the Tara Puja. So it'll be quite an informal Tara Puja, so that you can just come along and spend the morning in a meritorious way. And if you like it, great. And if it's not your thing, or you just zone in and zone out, that's fine as well. It's just a really nice way to make some energy and some merit for the center of what's promising to be a really extraordinary day for you. So yeah, today we're talking about that, how to put it all together into practice, because we've talked about all these different kind of elements of ritual. So then how to put it together into a daily practice. And what we've luckily got to draw on is Lama Zopa Rinpoche's perfect prescription for us. He's put together a prescription for all of us, tailor-made for us, that we can draw on. So we'll have a look at Rinpoche's prescription, how to bless our speech, but also I wanted to just briefly touch on how to offer our food, because that's another thing. We talk every day, or most days, and eat every day or most days, and it's something that is inescapable. So at least that, for a minimum, that's what we should bring onto the path to enlightenment, because otherwise it just becomes the path of samsara. It just creates more samsara. But we can use these experiences that we have to do every day. And yes, so then a little bit at the end of how to tailor make your own daily practice. If you have commitments, how to fit them in so that it becomes a really smooth, easy daily practice, something that you like doing rather than something you feel guilty about not doing enough or breaking your commitments or all of those kinds of things. Because the main thing is the structure. If you've got the right structure, then whether you do an extended version or a shorter version, it's okay. But as they say, it's got to be good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. So that's how we're going to figure it out today. So to make it good in the beginning, let's set our motivation. Let's adjust our motivation, because clearly you've already got a motivation because you've made it this far. You've got this far, and that, considering it's a beautiful sunny day and you could be all sorts of other places, that in itself is brilliant. So once we arrive like this, it's always good to see how we can adjust our motivation to make it really extensive, to make it altruistic, joyous, and also bring to mind the specific things. So the two wings of the bird, curiosity and kindness. So the curiosity to find out about all of the different methods that we have on the path to enlightenment, to develop our wisdom to its fullest. The kindness to oneself, kindness for others. How do we make kindness a practice? We're embodied beings, aren't we? So how do we make our life our time on this planet something that's really beneficial for others. And specifically, if we have a family, we probably have to speak. If we have a job, if we've got big events coming up, maybe court cases or exams or job interviews, all of those things, then it's so important to bless our speech so we can set our motivation how to learn to not just be embodied beings out in the world trying to act well and be kind to others, but also how to use our speech to take us all the way from here to enlightenment as well. So let's have a look at Lama Zopa Rinpoche's, oh, I forgot to get my screen up. Here we go. Let me just. So the daily practice of our Dharma Toolkit and Rinpoche's daily prescription for the pains of samsara, because we all are pained, aren't we? The nature of samsara is that it's never quite right. Even when we get things just about right, all sorted, it's still not quite right. That's the best that we can get. But then there's all the catastrophes that just come rolling in one after the other, and it's like we've got to stand firm against these waves of catastrophe. So Rinpoche has put together a practice for the pains of samsara, and in classic Rinpoche style, he's named it with a really long name. So it's the method to transform a suffering life into happiness, including enlightenment. So there it is, laid out perfectly, just like what we need to know. And there's been several versions of this practice and updated versions that have a different transliteration of the speech blessing. They have mantras for special occasions, specific occasions, like mantras to bless your feet. So if you walk, bless your feet. So if there's any creatures that you harm or stand on any bugs, that it can at least benefit them. Mantras to bless the wheels of your car, mantras to increase the power of your practice. And this particular practice, Rinpoche asked when we were in retreat in Bendigo, he really wanted everyone to do it regardless of what other commitments you have, regardless of whether you have big highest yoga tantra commitments to do every day, or whether you've just got Shakimuni Buddha meditation, to add this into the practice. The booklet is divided into two. So the first part is a glance Lamrim meditation. And you'll find that in the Gold Prayer Book as well, in the Lamrim meditations. And it's just called a glance Lamrim. It doesn't have any snazzy title or anything. And then he's added in extra verses, taken some verses from Shantideva's Way of the Bodhisattva and a few other bits and pieces and put them together. And that's what really makes me feel it's so special, because he's put in the verses that we as FPMT students really need to help us. So just to give you an idea, right at the very beginning, the first part of it with the Lamrim glance meditation, I'm not going to go deeply into it, but just the first verse: essence encompassing all the Buddhas, originator of the holy Dharma of scripture and realization, principle of all the Aryas intending virtue, in the glorious holy Gurus I take refuge. So we've got refuge and Guru devotion straight away. And then this verse: please Gurus bless my mind to become Dharma, Dharma to become the path, and the path to be without obstacles. So when I first read that, I thought, oh yeah, that makes sense, that's nice. But actually, Rinpoche spent several days on this verse, as Rinpoche does. And he spent so much time because the first line, please Gurus bless my mind to become Dharma, is the blessing for us to enter a Buddhist path. So that's a refuge in a Buddhist path, to turning our mind away from the worldly concerns, the 8 worldly dharmas. That's what determines our decisions throughout the day, but actually turning our mind to be on a Buddhist path, which can be going against the stream a lot of the time. And then the second line, Dharma to become the path, refers to the Mahayana in particular. So by saying this, may we be blessed to enter a Mahayana path, and the path of altruism, bringing everyone along with us, being a bodhisattva. And then the third line, and the path to be without obstacles, refers to the tantric vehicle. And in particular, so that's the obstacles to omniscience, and the main obstacle of the tantric path is the ordinary view, us having an ordinary view, totally underestimating life, our potential, the nature of phenomena, just having it all just as it appears, and even how it appears to us is incorrect. So just in that, it's very subtly recalibrates our mind, just reading this in the morning. There's a couple of other verses in there that I particularly love from Shantideva, and one of them is, may I be a savior for those who lack a savior, a guide for all the beings who enter a road, a boat, a ship, and a bridge for those who want to cross the water. And so that's me. I'm going to be the bridge. I'm going to be the bridge between modern life and the richness of the Buddha's teachings. You know, that's the thing that I would dare to have any confidence to pursue and share with you, because there's no way I'm qualified to teach anything, you know, any of those amazing, fantastic topics. But this little tiny bit of being a bridge, that's what I can confidently share. So on my little book, it's just like an old photo album book, you know, you get just for one size small photos, and I've got all of my prayers stuck in there, photocopied small and stuck in there, so that it's all covered in plastic. And then on the back, I've got this beautiful picture of a guy holding a bridge. It's like an illustration of Shantideva's story. So then there's the Glance Lamrim meditation, which is a lovely one to go through. There's a few verses there specifically about dealing with pride, a few about us being here, not others aren't here to benefit us, but we are here to benefit them. So it just kind of massages your mind into the right direction. And then the second half of the booklet is the speech blessing. So let's have a look at the amazingness of the speech blessing. And as usual, I want to backtrack a little bit to give you some context, and starting off with our Western mantra garland, the Western alphabet garland. So you might hear about mantra garlands, the mantras around the moon disk at the heart of the deity, but this is our one that we have in our culture. And combining these 26 letters of our Western alphabet garland, we get an infinity of teachings. With just these 26 letters, we can access the entirety of the Buddhist teachings and all the sutras and all the mantras. So even there, the alphabet, our alphabet, is so important. And to the extent that I remember when Lama Zopa Rinpoche first came up to Chenrezig Institute in the 70s, and tropical Queensland, it was pouring with rain, and they drove the car up close to the Gompa, but there was still these huge muddy patches to get from the car to the Gompa. So everybody put down newspapers for Lama Zopa Rinpoche and Lama Yeshe to walk on, so they wouldn't get muddy feet. And it's all really slippery. And Rinpoche was utterly devastated to think that anybody could walk on those words, on those letters, because those letters make up the Dharma teachings. And so he got everybody to pick up the newspapers from the ground and wipe them down and take all the mud off them and dry them all out, hanging like washing all around the edge of the Gompa. I think no one ever forgot that. So that's the incredible respect for words just because of what that they contain. And so, you know, with words, we have not just an infinity of teachings, but it's the DNA of our language. And when the Tibetan language was constructed, it was constructed specifically for teaching Dharma. So it's like a custom-made language, which is really quite extraordinary. And as with any kind of language, actually first comes the sound, and then the sound is kind of takes form. It's like captured by the form. So first is the sound. Sound is like movement, isn't it? It's just a movement of energy. And then it takes the form of the various letters. So let's have a look at the 3D mantra garlands. And so the Tibetan script, like this, it's so beautiful how the Tibetan script is just made for writing things in circles like this. The mantra garland, how they talk about it like a beautiful garland. And so this is the mantra garland of Medicine Buddha mantra. And it's like the sound shimmers into existence and becomes manifest as this subtle form. But actually, when we are thinking about these letters, don't think of them as static and certainly not flat. Think of them like this. They're dancing like Soul Train. They've got all the moves. And so each of those letters is just captured like a snapshot, like when they're voguing. And so you get a snapshot of them in one form of stillness to capture that sound and that letter. But the whole time it's like flickering gas flames or dancing, and they're alive. So they're the most subtle form of mind made manifest into form. So the most subtle form, the Sambhogakaya. So I found this beautiful image of the dancers. So if you just squint your eyes a little bit, you'll see how it's almost like those Tibetan letters. And even though this is a photograph, you know that these people have been moving. So the letters out of the three bodies of a Buddha, Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. The Dharmakaya is completely spacious. There's no form. It's the pure mind, unobstructed mind, from which everything arises from the Dharmakaya. But then through the movement or the force of compassion, of altruism, the most subtle form arises. So the movement, it's not moved by the winds of karma and delusion. No, it's moved by altruism to take a form of the Sambhogakaya, the body of light, and the syllables. And so it's the essence of that form, the most rarefied meaning. And then, of course, for us mere mortals or someone like me who can't see the Sambhogakaya form of the Buddhas, then the Nirmanakaya form in a human style form that we can relate to, or any other form that beings can relate to more directly through our senses rather than through our mind or with our inner eye. So a couple more images. When the letters are written, even though they're written flat and they're arranged circular, they're standing upright and they're made of light and they're three-dimensional. So this white hum syllable above the white lotus is a really beautiful example of this, that it's upright and it looks kind of soft. So made of light and flexible. Lama Yeshe would say like neon, but not hard like neon, very flexible and soft, but as radiant as neon. And then this mantra of Om Mani Padme Hum arranged around the lotus there. So even though these little letters, they look a bit flat, they should be three-dimensional, but each one sings its own sound. And then together they make this perfect harmony of the mantra. And the dances here, I also really like, because it's a little bit like how I'd imagine Vajrayogini's mantra to be, made of light. So with the dancers, you can see how they're holding hands and they're going around in one particular direction. And same here with the Om Mani Padme Hum, it's going in a particular direction. And that's because the syllables have like a head and a tail. And they, you know, that image of like the elephants all walking in a row and each one's holding the tail with their trunk. So the syllables also are like that. They have a head and a tail, and we're seeing them from the side as they're advancing. And so with the mantras, when we imagine the speech mantra, sometimes they say it's arranged clockwise. Other times they say it's arranged anti-clockwise. So that's to do with which direction the letters are going. So if you're not used to doing visual gymnastics in your mind, what I found really handy to get your head around this is to actually get a translucent or see-through piece of paper and write it on there. And then something I prepared earlier. So I've got, well, here we go. Om Mani Padme Hum on plastic, right? And so I cut it out, and then you can stick it together. And I'll make it a little bit nicer. So you stick it together one way, and it's, this is going anti-clockwise, and the letters are facing outwards. And then if you arrange it clockwise, stick it together the other way, now the letters are facing inwards. So when they say whether the letters are whether they're clockwise or anti-clockwise, just think of it as which way the letters are facing. Because in our mind's eye, we're like the most amazing movie producer. We can look at the letters from the very middle looking out, or we can look at the letters from the outside looking in. But the easiest way is to get Om Mani Padme Hum and write it on a piece of paper and stick it together. Many times also in the translations, it's a little bit confusing because sometimes it says they're going in a particular direction and it makes you think that they're spinning around, but they're not spinning, they're stationary, the way there's this snapshot of the letters. And it's just the way that they're arranged. Are they arranged in one direction or arranged in another direction? The next thing that's really amazing about this is that when you have a seed syllable like this one, like Om, it's written like this, but it's actually written, you know, there's the, let's see, the head and the tail. So what we're seeing is an Om from the side, like the side of an elephant. And if we have, say, an Om at our heart, what we're actually looking at is the side of an Om, and it's looking that way. So when we're imagining the seed syllable at our heart, it should actually be like this, so that it's facing front, just like we are, and the tail's facing back, just like we are. And if you read it, you'd look at it from the side. So actually, it's written like this. It's just like a placeholder to remind us, oh, this is an Om, and we imagine it at our heart. But when we imagine it, if we're looking at it from the front, it'd just be like a sliver of light standing up. So the reason that I know this is because Chöden Rinpoche, amazing, incredible Lama, when he came to Australia and he was giving us Tara teachings, and he said about Tum at Tara's heart, and he said, and it's facing frontwards like this. And there was this audible intake of breath, like, what? And then hubble bubble in the front row, all the Sangha going, oh, I don't know about that. Oh, we'll have to ask so-and-so about that. Oh, I've never heard that written in the Sadhana, blah, blah, blah. And it was kind of embarrassing because clearly Chetan Rinpoche was just reporting back from the actual in the field, you know, actually seeing the actual Tam and the actual Tara, and, you know, with completely clear, pure vision of this is how it is. And so that kind of thing isn't necessarily written or spelt out in the Sadhana, and that really is the difference between someone with direct experience. But, you know, once you think about it, then it makes a lot of sense. So that's a little bit of background about how the letters are alive. They're actually a subtle body of a Buddha. And so when we do the speech blessing, we are having the blessing of the Buddhas, literally, and by saying the syllables and those syllables resonating in our body, that is a way of having the body of a Buddha enter our body, literally, physically, and resonate in our body. So that's why it's so powerful. So in the booklet, when we do the speech blessing, it's called Do the Ali Kali. So it's not the hokey pokey, folks, but it's let's do the Ali Kali. So it's just like saying your ABCs, the Ali Kali. And if you have a family or a job, then don't leave home without it. Don't leave home without doing the speech blessing. And especially don't go to any important thing without first doing the speech blessing. What it helps with is to make sure that your speech is pure, it has power, and that anything that you say wrong or get mixed up or typos doesn't cascade into a big fault. It just stays as a little small thing. It means that, I mean, I always do the speech blessing before a class because I want things to come across clear, and yet I can get all mixed up with things. So I'm terrified of getting something wrong, leading you astray. So at least with a speech blessing, if there's mistakes, then it's not going to have a big bad effect. It means that also people understand you and pay attention. So we need that, don't we, to have that kind of power with our speech. And it means that whatever prayers we say and whatever mantras we say or sutras that we read become very, very powerful. And so instead of us singing the song of Samsara, which we're all pretty used to, we sing the mantra of dependent origination. We sing the mantra of wisdom. So it really changes everything. So the Ali Kali starts off by you take refuge and generate bodhicitta. And in the little booklet, it's just 2 lines. I go for refuge to the 3 rare sublime ones. May I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. So simple. Then you dissolve your inherently existent I, the one that we think the real me, you dissolve that into emptiness. Whichever way that you go through the dissolution process, whether you do it as an analysis or you think that, say, if you've had Chenrezig initiation, Chenrezig's light flows through you and then purifies you, and Chenrezig dissolves into light and absorbs into you, and you arise as Chenrezig. Or if you haven't had an initiation, you can think light from the Buddha flows to you, flows through you, purifies you, the Buddha dissolves into light, absorbs into you, and you arise as the Buddha. And then you do the speech blessing. So you're not blessing your ordinary coarse body. That's not what we're blessing. We're blessing our enlightened body, our body of merit, our body of virtue, our light body. And then on your tongue, a syllable ah, so it's a short a. Made of light, very, very radiant and beautiful. and then it transforms into a moon disc on your tongue. The sliver of the moon disc is actually like a sliver of bodhicitta. So Rinpoche says sometimes it looks like, say, a mirror or a magnifying glass, but very soft and radiant. But think of it as the beauty and the delicacy and the blissfulness of bodhicitta arising as a moon disc on your tongue. And then on top of that arises a white Om syllable in the middle. So remember, even though here it's written sideways, we're imagining it looking forwards. And then the 3 mantra garlands. So the Ali, the Kali, and the mantra of dependent arising. So these 3 mantra garlands, the inside one is white. So even though in the picture here they look flat, imagine them standing upright, all singing their own song, all very much alive and beautiful. The vowels are the white ones. They're on the inner circle. Then the middle circle are red, and that's the consonants. And the external one is the mantra of dependent arising. So that's the wisdom, and that the blue. So these now are all on your tongue. Very, very delicate and beautiful. And so light rays emanate out from all of them into all directions, hooking back the power of speech from beyond samsara. So think the power of speech from all the Buddhas, from all the Bodhisattvas, from all the Arhats, from all the great practitioners, from all the kind, wise people, from all the great orators, from within samsara and from beyond samsara. And also what are hooked back are all of the auspicious symbols and all of the precious symbols of a king's reign, so of a great, Dharma king, all the Rinpoches that are in the mandala offering, the precious minister, the precious horse, the precious queen, all of those. And they come, the light rays pull them back from space. And what's really nice is to kind of think of it in like a sci-fi way, that the light rays go out from these mantras on your tongue. They hook back all of the speech, the enlightened speech in the form of light. So the mantras become really radiant, incredibly bright. And at the same time, all the auspicious symbols and everything arrive, and they're all floating in space around you. So think of them, like in Star Wars, when you have the whole flotilla of spaceships just there hovering in space, and it's like it's filling an enormous amount of space. So imagine that, like all the auspicious symbols and the precious things filling all of space, just hovering there, thousands and thousands and thousands of all gold and made of light, and then all of that absorbs into the mantra garland. So they absorb into the like rain falling on an ocean. So then you're ready to do the actual speech blessing. And so the first one, I'll put up the screen again because we've got the Sanskrit vowels. So you can do it quite fast, but if you haven't done the speech blessing before, it's fine to do it slow. So the fast way would be Om a I u ri ri li li e o ang a swaha. So it goes lilting upwards. Om a I u ri ri li li e o ang a swaha. Om a I u ri ri li li e o ang a swaha. And as you're saying this, then the white light from that mantra garland is flowing through your whole body, purifying all the negative actions that you've ever done physically, purifying your body, purifying all the negative karmas collected physically in this life and all previous lives. So your whole body becomes white and radiant and completely clear. Then the consonants. So this time it's red light, and this blesses the speech. And so as you're saying it, the red light flows through your whole body, purifying speech of this life and all previous lives. Om kaka gaga na, ta da 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 na, ta da 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 na, ta da 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 na, pa ba 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 ma, yara lava, chaka saha sa swaha. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but it's great once you get the hang of it. Om kaka gaga na, ta da 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 na, ta da 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 na, ta da 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 na, pa ba 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 ma, yara lava, chaka saha sa swaha. So Rinpoche has done slightly different transliteration for this in each of the different versions. So I've just kind of hit on the one that I'm comfortable with. There seems to be like a repetition of the ta da 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 na, but one of them is with your tongue slightly curled, so with the little R in there. Om ka ka ga ga na, ta da 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 na, ta da 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 na, ta da 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 na, pa ba 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 ma, yara lava, chaka saha kya swaha. So your whole body incredibly radiant and red, speech purified. Then the mind, purifying the mind. And so this one, the mantra dependent origination, this is the mantra that you can bless all the various holy objects in your house with, remember, and also if you get anything from the op shop, to release any unseen beings that are stuck with their attachment to that object. You know, it's the all-purpose amazing mantra. The one to say to all the animals, the insects, when you're walking through the bush, everything. So this one, Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava, Hetan Tekan Tatagato, Haya Vadat Tekan Sayo, Niroda, Evam Vadi Maha Shramanaye Swaha. So there's a particular punctuation with this one. So I put up here the yo and the dot dot. That's because Rinpoche said it's most important to put a pause after yo and before nirodha. And that's to do with the importance of punctuation. So punctuation, it's like, for instance, if you say, hey, let's eat, grandma. Or you say, hey, let's eat, grandma. No, it's just punctuation, right? But it completely changes the meaning. And so apparently with this, if we run the yo and the nirodha together, it turns the meaning into the opposite. So we just don't want to do that. So I've put there in this slide, I don't think I've actually put it in your notes, but in the slide, just to bring your attention to it. And again, kind of lilting upwards because we're uplifting our mind. So Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava, Hetan Tekan Tatagato, Haya Vadat Tekan Sayo, Nirodha, Evam Vadi Maha Shramanaye Swaha. Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava, Hetan Tekan Tatagato, Haya Vadat Tekan Sayo, Nirodha, Evam Vadi Maha Shramanaye Swaha. So all that blue light, it's washed through you, it's completely purified your mind, all of the obsessions, the compulsions, the negative afflicted mind states, your mind becomes radiant, clean and clear, like unobstructed space. And then the mantras get drawn in to the Om in the middle. So this is a really interesting way that Rinpoche talked about it. Often they say dissolve and absorb and whatever, but actually you think of these mantras are there on your tongue. So the Om in the middle draws in first the blue mantra. So the blue mantra gets drawn into the red one. It dissolves, but the energy of it comes into the red mantra garland. And then that gets drawn into the white mantra garland. And then that gets drawn into the Om. So it's like getting more and more powerful. And then the Om dissolves into that moon disc. And the moon disc transforms into an A syllable again. And they say it's like it's white tinged with red. So kind of pinkish, whitish, reddish. And you can just feel it there on your tongue. And then it absorbs into your tongue in this beautiful pinkish, whitish, reddish kind of nectar. And the thought to bring to mind is when you have all of that sherbet, that lolly, you know, when you put and it explodes in your mouth. So imagine that. So it just goes into your tongue, and then your tongue feels heavy with virtue. So Rinpoche says, your tongue becomes very heavy and strong, as if it's difficult to move, indestructible as a Vajra. Generate strong faith that all the blessings and power of the speech of the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Arahats, yogis, and sages has entered your speech and made it perfect. And think, my speech has become perfect. So the nectar absorbs into your tongue, and your tongue becomes of Vajra nature. And then the image can be, Rinpoche said, like, you can imagine almost inside your tongue a white Vajra made of light. And he said, like a Vajra in a beautiful brocade Nepalese purse. So it doesn't do it for everyone, but it does it for me, because yes, that's right. I can imagine my tongue like that, like a brocade Nepalese purse. And so then your speech is blessed. And so then there is the dedication verse for the speech blessing. May my tongue sense base have all the courage of the ones gone to bliss. By the magnificence and power of my words, may all sentient beings be subdued. May all the meanings of whatever words I say be accomplished. So I love this because it gives you courage to express the difficult things, and to, so many times we try and avoid the difficult things or avoid the difficult conversations. But this really gives us courage that we can do it, and we can do it in a skillful way. The magnificence and power of my words also refers to the power of what we're saying. So the sutras and the meditation practices and the mantras, magnificence and power. And by us saying that, may it subdue, pacify the minds of sentient beings, and may all the meanings of whatever words I say be accomplished. All the meanings of the sutras, the Sutra of Golden Light, the Heart Sutra, just by reading it, may the meanings be accomplished. So it's so powerful. So then you think your speech has become perfect. Whatever you recite is the benefits is multiplied 10 million times. The power of your speech is not taken away by eating the wrong foods. So your power of your speech isn't obstacled. And even gossiping becomes the recitation of mantra. So it's quite a thing. Then don't worry so much about the pronunciation in terms of if you can say it with a Tibetan accent. I mean, I say it with a Australian accent. So sorry, I apologize. And when I went to France, I was certain they were saying it in French, but they were actually saying Sanskrit with a French accent, and I just heard French. So you just do whatever accent you have, that's fine, as long as you just do as nicely as you can the Sanskrit, but relax, let it come nicely. It's always going to have an accent, isn't it? Even the Tibetans have an accent for Sanskrit, so not to worry about the pronunciation too much. So questions or comments or anything now about the speech blessing? And I forgot to ask, are you already doing it? You are? Oh, good. Oh, Tara. Okay. So have I left anything out? No?
No, that followed the one I do. So I liked hearing the correction though on the consonants. And I didn't get that swaha, that W in the swa, that W in there. Yeah.
It makes it, it's got more swing, that's for sure. But Rinpoche was saying, we can get closer to the Sanskrit pronunciation, and he really likes, if we can do it, if we can wrap our tongue around it to do it that way. Yeah.
Yes. I have. Let's Jill. Please ask.
No, I'm a bit, it's a lovely mantra, I love it as usual, but I'm a bit confused about where does this fit in the daily practice?
In the morning, before you speak, before you say one word, bless the speech.
So you do it after prostrations, after or before?
No, before prostrations. Yeah, before.
Okay. And then the first thing you said was the glance Lamrim. So where does that fit, please?
So that one, you've got an option. So in the booklet, it goes Lamrim and then speech blessing. And so Rinpoche said, if you're going to read the Lamrim out loud, do the speech blessing first, so that then when you read the Lamrim out loud and you're blessing the environment and your own speech, it's got a lot of power. But if you're just going to read the Lamrim quietly to yourself, then you can read that and that becomes a very nice long motivation. And then you do the speech blessing.
And the booklet is what?
It's how to transform a suffering life into happiness, including enlightenment.
So we need to buy that book, yeah?
I think it was in the notes part of the materials for this course, and you can get it as a PDF from the FPMT Foundation store just by donation.
Thank you.
As well as a booklet, and so I've just photocopied it at half the size, so it sticks into my little photo booklet.
Lovely.
And so my regime is I have my morning coffee, I get my coffee, I feed the cats, and I go and sit outside with my coffee and my Lamrim and speech blessing. And so by the time I've got through the Lamrim and are doing my speech blessing, I'm halfway through the coffee. And so by the time I get to the speech blessing and it all absorbing into my tongue, the caffeine's kicking in, and it's all kind of melted in together. It works really nicely. Then I'm ready for the day. So yes, the kitties, their job is to wake me up. So the kitties say, wake up, wake up, wake up. So they're going to bring me to enlightenment.
Thank you. yeah, coffee and cat feed cat. There's always long before anything else. Thank you.
And I also have a question. You spoke about the importance of words in general, but obviously the respect that we have to show to any Buddhist words. And the thing is, I've had a huge heap of Dharma notes and papers related to everything, and I need to clean my apartment. And
yes.
What about mantras? What would you suggest there? Dependent arising or?
Yeah, so the way to deal with what's called Dharma burning is first you've got to sort through it and cut out any images of our gurus or the Buddhas or the deities, so that you're not going to destroy an image of the holy form. That's the first thing. So actually that's one of our volunteer jobs. Their sole job is to sit there with scissors and cut out all the images of the deities and the gurus. Then they go into a special envelope up high on top of a shelf, and the rest of the words goes into Dharma burning. And then you imagine that all of the words, because they're three-dimensional and made of light, come up from the paper, and that light absorbs into your heart. And then what you're burning is just paper. And so that works really nicely if you've got a stove or a fire, if you're in a cold country and you can do this. If you're in tropical Queensland and no one has a fire and you're not allowed to have any burning outside, then it's really difficult. And so what else we've asked and we can do is, if you get secure, the secure rubbish bins that you put documents in, and they come with a little padlock, and so they assure you that it goes straight from the document bin to either being burned or to be pulped into paper. And so the main thing Rinpoche said was that those papers don't fly around and land on the ground and to be stood on. So the secure bins are really quite good, because they assure you that those papers don't go anywhere else except to the pulp or something. So that is a second option, but not quite as good as the burning because of the fire.
So just
Diana?
a follow up. So those images, I have to keep them forever?
Yes, so then they go into an envelope, but thankfully that's quite flat, and they can go into a holy image house in the forest. If you don't have one of those, what we got was a big birdhouse on a stick and put that in our back garden. And so the birdhouse is about 1 meter tall and it's got a nice little roof and things. So we're beginning to fill that up. That's quite a nice thing. So we've got two posts in our backyard, one with the holy house, the holy birdhouse on it, and the other is just a platform, and that's where we put our sog so that the birds can get it. And it looks quite nice. We've got little Tibetan frill around the bottom of each one. So yes, it takes a bit, but if you get other people involved in it, it's actually quite a nice bonding thing to do with a bunch of volunteers. Just every month or so, sit around and cut out the images and chat. Bless your speech, cut out the images, have a chat, creates community.
And Yuval is asking, are stupas and statues also an option?
To put the...
I guess that's what she means. Can we put it in there?
Yes, if they're damaged. Yep, any damaged holy images. So we don't want to be looking at them because it's not going to be proper imprints, but we can't destroy them. So any damaged holy objects also go into the holy house up high in a forest.
I don't think we could do that.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky. So that's one of the things that Dharma Center should be able to offer to people if possible. But it just makes us be a lot more aware of what we're using, how we're using our materials, and not just to willy-nilly photocopy things all over the place and chuck them out or anything like that. Just a real super mindfulness.
And
Diana, did you have
mantras,
a question?
sorry, about the mantras, Oma Hung or the dependent arising?
Oh, yes. So you can recite Oma Hum as the light is absorbing into you. Yes. Yep. That's right.
I did. I tend to, and I'm sure that this is not okay, but most of my paper in the house, I have I vermicompost. I have a worm bin, and I'm, on the one hand, I can see that that's kind of, putting it back into nature, but then on the other hand, is that disrespectful because it's kind of ground?
Is there a way that you could soak the paper so that the words dissolve?
Maybe.
Because then it's not putting the words into the ground or into the rubbish.
Because I shred and then I put into the worm bin. But
yeah, so maybe shred and then soak it a bit, and then imagine all the words dissolve, and then that might, it might just
it's kind of gray area.
It's better than nothing. So we've got to just do the very best we can, and it's always going to be tricky. And it's kind of like a first world problem, isn't it? Oh my gosh, so much Dharma material, what to do? So we've got to make sure that we keep having Dharma material, isn't it? So that's why we've got to be so careful.
And that setting fire to things, I don't think is a good idea.
No, well, setting fire in the winter months, just feeding it into the potbelly stove is wonderful. I mean, my mother, she just burnt it in the oven. So we had a gas stove. She just opened the gas stove door. She never did any cooking. She just did a Dharma burning in the oven. So when I inherited the house, it's like this thick with soot on the bottom of the oven. It's amazing she didn't blow the whole place up. So anyway, she had her priorities right though. No cooking, just Dharma burning. So really quickly then, let's go into the rest of, we've blessed our speech, we've done our Lamrim. Now we can speak, now we can get dressed, do all the things we have to do to go have a life. So one of the things to do, everyday Dharma, how to get dressed up like a bodhisattva. So if we're not putting on the robes, we can still put on the bodhisattva's accoutrement. So if you wear earrings like I do, it's not just ordinary earrings. If you can, also as you hook them in, hook in a meaning. And so if you remember all of the earrings that we see on all the deities, Tara and Manjushri, what those earrings mean is the perfection of patience. So it's one of the 6 perfections. So every time you put earrings on, you think, may I accomplish the perfection of patience. May I have the patience to hear problems. Rinpoche says our ears are made for listening to problems. So it really sets you up well for the day. It's so nice. You can also do that if you put your glasses over your ears. I think that will also help with that. Then if you wear a watch, I'm sure you could think of many things that you can transform this into everyday Dharma, but in particular, may I reach the timeless state, enlightenment, and may I bring all beings with me. And I always add in, and may we have enough time to do it in, you know, may I not waste this life because we don't know when it's going to end. And may, so that I can bring all beings to the timeless state. Also, that bracelets and anklets, they're to do with moral conduct, with ethics, the perfection of ethics. Then necklaces. So I put 3 here because you'll see the deities always have 3 necklaces, and the images of the Buddhas, Shakimuni Buddha, has 3 neck wrinkles. And so those 3, what do they mean? The perfection of generosity. So when you put your necklace on, may I achieve the perfection of generosity. May I accomplish the perfection of generosity. And you can remember the 3 types of generosity, of giving material help, of giving protection and saving lives, and of giving the Dharma. So then putting on necklaces becomes this stealth Dharma. Then I just throw in this one of makeup. You know, so I wear makeup because I figure, well, I wear makeup when I lead classes and when I go to the opera and when I go to puja, because I figure if someone's going to be looking at me for a long time, I'm going to try and make an effort. But also then we can use that while I'm putting it on. Then I'm thinking, may I have like the 2 wings of the bird? That's my eyebrows. Don't forget those. May I have the Deva's eye with the mascara. May I be beautified by my morality. So that's the perfection of ethics as well. If you have a belt, if you wear a belt, this one's fantastic. It's the 3 higher trainings, and it's also the perfection of enthusiastic perseverance. So if you're lacking in energy or enthusiasm, this is the one. Put on a belt. And shoes. Shoes. So what can you think when you put your shoes on? Whose shoes are you stepping into? Whose footsteps? At the very minimum, may I walk in the footsteps of the Buddhas. May I step into the Bodhisattva's shoes. If you have a hat, that's the perfection of concentration. If you've got a beanie and it's winter with a pom-pom, then the pom-pom, that's the perfection of wisdom. Or you could possibly have your watch of wisdom as well. So just getting dressed, usually it's a cause of frustration. It's demoralizing. We've got nothing to wear, or it's cause of attachment. All of these things. It's a very worldly kind of thing, and yet with just a few little tweaks, we can get dressed up like a bodhisattva. We can put on our bodhisattva armor. As we're putting on it, on these external things, we're putting on the perfections, and then we're going out into the world. So if you can, if you're not in a rush, then it's really good to do this. If you are in a rush, then you've got speed metaphors. So speed metaphors, if you have keys, car keys or house keys, and you check, don't we? We check, oh, have I got my keys? So as you're checking, do I have my keys? Do I have my kindness? If you're sitting in the car, it's like, oh, where are the keys? Don't leave until you've also got your kindness in hand. And so this really puts a wonderful pause that if you've thrown yourself out of bed and you're all in a rush and bit discombobulated, then you don't leave home until you've gathered up your great loving kindness. And it changes everything. So got my keys, got my kindness. And then every time you check for your keys, check for your kindness. And then this is my one. Well, I can't start the day without coffee. What else can't I start the day without? I can't start the day without compassion. So if I'm getting to the bottom of my coffee cup and I haven't actually generated some great compassion, or at least intended to generate some great compassion, then I just got to go get another cup of coffee until I've recalibrated my mind. So right there, we've already got 2 of the 4 immeasurables. And third one for our speed metaphors, where's my mobile? So I don't know, in America, they call them cell phones, don't they? But here in Australia, we say mobiles. Where's my mobile? Where's my mobile at? Where's my mindfulness at? So this one in particular, I'm not sure how many times they say people check their phones every day. Check if they have their phone, but also check what's on their phone. And it's something like thousands of times a day. It's not even in the hundreds. So imagine if every time we checked our mobile, we checked our mindfulness. This one really gets me because I am super mindful where my phone is, that I haven't left it behind, that I haven't missed anything. And I just think if I just put that effort into the 4 immeasurables, like I'd be a saint by now. It's so embarrassing. But this is the power of, if we already have a habit, you hitchhike on a habit. So this is the easy way. It's quite difficult to develop a Dharma practice. You need to start with a bang, with lots of energy. So, you know, you start with an initiation or with a retreat or with a course, with group energy, so that you've already got some momentum. But just starting from scratch, it's very difficult. So start with something you're already doing, what you already do, whether it's watering the garden, whether it's washing the dishes, something that you do all the time, and then you hitchhike a Dharma activity on it. You've already got the momentum. So another one that I do, and so if you're helping out at a Dharma center, it's really lovely when you're putting the chairs out or putting the cushions out and arranging the room. Don't just think I'm putting the chairs out. I think I'm putting out thrones for all the future Buddhas. And it's so exciting. It's just great. Instead of it being a chore. All right. And so speaking of coffee, then something that we all have to do at least every day, at least once every day, sometimes more, is eat. So eating and drinking, it's inescapable because of this body of contaminated, appropriated aggregates. And so that's why, as part of the refuge commitments, if you take refuge, you formally become a Buddhist. Part of the refuge commitments is to offer your food and drink. Because when we're sitting down to have our cup of coffee, actually the carnage left behind us from just getting this cup of coffee, it's unimaginable. Just the carnage of lives just so that we can have our dinner is unimaginable. And it's not just from the beings that lost, you know, the insects and the roadkill and all the people that put all their effort in, but it goes back in time. Like with coffee, it goes back to slave traders, you know, and the development of agriculture, it just goes back. So here we are enjoying a nice cup of coffee at the expense of so many others. So the minimum that we can do is do it on their behalf, is offer to them, do it for their benefit. So that's why, and because we have to eat, even if we do a bit of harm minimization and become vegetarian or try and eat ethically sourced things or organic things or whatever it is, there's still carnage. There's just no way around it. So how do we strike the middle way and take the essence of this life and be able to live this life to become a Buddha for the benefit of all, and at the same time help the sentient beings. So that's why we've got to offer the food. So offering the food and drink, you're probably all very, very familiar with all of this. But the reciting the Om Ah Hum, so the white Om, the red R, and the blue Hum made of light absorb into whatever it is. And this can be a very profound meditation, but it transforms it from an ordinary object into an ocean of transcendental wisdom nectar. And this is actually what we offer. And when we offer to the Guru deity, to the Buddhas in front of us, or to the Buddha in our heart, when we swallow and it goes down, psychologically what we're doing, just like with mandala offerings, is we're putting all of this food and drink at the service of enlightenment, at the service of sentient beings. And so the prayer, I've changed this slide from what's in your notes, because what's in the notes is the Guru is Buddha, Guru is Dharma, Guru is Sangha also, Guru is the creator of all goodness and happiness. To all Gurus I make this offering. So that's this amazing prayer. But this prayer here is actually the offering food and drink prayer. The Supreme Teacher, the precious Buddha, the Supreme Refuge, the precious Dharma, the Supreme Guides, the precious Sangha, to the three rare sublime ones, the objects of refuge, I make this offering. May we and all those around us in all our lives never be separated from the three rare sublime ones, continuously make offerings to the three rare sublime ones, and receive the blessings of the three rare sublime ones. So we've transformed an ordinary cup of tea or coffee into an ocean of transcendental wisdom nectar. We've offered this to all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, by nature our own root Guru, on behalf of all the sentient beings. Then we think they accept it with delight. All the sentient beings become pacified. And just as I enjoy this nourishment, may all sentient beings enjoy the nourishment of the Dharma. So it becomes a cause to always be able to enjoy the nourishment of the Dharma doing this. And it stops it being the cause for more samsara suffering. So that's the prayer, but actually there are many different ways that we can offer our food. And so I put a little slide in here about this, because commonly now, the thing that you most hear in the wellness industry and across the board is to eat mindfully. And I have a bit of aversion to this. It kind of creeps me out, this whole mindfulness wellness industry thing, because you can be, you know, have your attention on your food and be mindful or be aware. It's not really mindfulness, but be aware of every bite and every taste and everything like that. But that's just creating more attachment. That's just getting more materialistic. Like, where is the benefit in that? It's just getting more and more, you're just becoming a foodie. So there's got to be a reason for eating, and it's got to be altruistic at the very, very minimum. So there are different ways to offer our food. And this can be a little shocking, but it's worth going into. So we've got, first off, just something really basic just to keep us alive, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Physiologically, we need health, food, and sleep, don't we? Just to keep alive. And I've thrown in a little joke here, because actually below this physiological thing in Maslow's hierarchy is internet. It's like we need the great Dharmakaya, out of which everything arises. Then we have the physiological needs. So this one, to sustain our life, and then we have the reason for our life. So to sustain our life force, but why? So really the hierarchy of needs, it's just basically, okay, I want to be able to make something of my life. I've got to keep this body healthy, have enough energy in order to lead a good life. If we're a Buddhist, then it would be in order to be able to actually put the Dharma into practice, to eat without attachment, without miserliness, without frustration or anger, all of those things, without the mind of ignorance, and to sustain the life force. Why? For liberation, to cease samsara, to become free of samsara. So that's kind of like the minimum Buddhist way, and then the what do you call it? The middle scope, the seeking liberation entirely from samsara, and then practicing generosity. So this is like the Mahayana way. So this image here shows the ratio of microbial cells in our body, so microbes, stuff that is not us, that is little bacterias and tiny little creatures and everything, to us. And the ratio is 8:1. 8 microbes and bacterias to every one of our cells. So this, we're only 1/8 us. The rest of us, the rest of our body isn't even us. It's not even us. What it is, it's all those little skin mites that are making sure we don't suffocate, that are cleaning our skin. And there's a different sort that live on your nose. And when you get, like if you're an alcoholic, your nose gets all red and shiny, it's because those skin mites are very upset. They can't live there properly. So you have all different ranges of, then you have different ones in your hair. And if we didn't have them, we would suffocate within hours. Then you've got all those microbes in your stomach, making sure that you can digest, like countless, 8 times more than what's us. So when we eat, we're offering to all of those beings. We're practicing the most outrageous generosity directly. By putting food in our body, we are offering to all those beings. Our body isn't even us. We are a walking condominium. We're walking high-rise towers. We're a whole ecosystem. Our very existence depends on the kindness of others, countless others. So the least that we can do is when we eat, we offer to all of them. And then we think, may they be in my first circle of disciples when I attain Buddhahood. So we're making a karmic connection every single time with all of these beings. We are going to draw them out of samsara. And thank you for keeping me alive so that it can all happen that way. It's a real group effort. Then there's the Mahayana Tantra way. So that's a Mahayana Sutra way, practicing generosity. The Mahayana Tantra way is you generate yourself as the deity out of the Dharmakaya, the blissful wisdom realizing emptiness, manifests as the deity. You eat as the deity. The food is the spontaneous manifestation of the resources of the deity. You enjoy as the deity with a pure view, with enlightened body, speech, and mind, enjoying in the nature of bliss and emptiness. So then, of course, even if the food you're eating is just baked beans on toast, it's just going to be blissful. So even if you don't arise as the deity, you can think that there's the Buddha there at your heart, and the Buddha is experiencing such incredible bliss. And that bliss radiates through your whole body and is an offering to all the beings in your body. So what you end up having is lower scope to sustain life. Middle scope, mindfulness, bringing in the 3 higher trainings and for liberation. Higher scope, generosity. So that's the Mahayana Sutra way, the perfection of generosity. And the tantric perspective, divine enjoyments in the nature of bliss and emptiness. So in terms of eating or offering our food, I hope you can remember to do it on all those levels, and don't just leave it at just the mindfulness business. Really, it can supercharge our practice. Comments, questions? All okay. Jill's scratching her head. Okie dokie. So we've set our motivation, we've blessed our speech, we've gone through the day, we've got our everyday Dharma, we've got it sorted with when we eat and drink, all on the path to enlightenment. So then it comes to the end of the day. Then what do we do? So that, like the bookends, the beginning, the middle, and the end. So a very simple way to end our day. Doesn't necessarily have to be formal sitting doing meditation. It can just be as you lie your head on the pillow, to just take stock of the day, but do it in a specific way. And you can rate your day, not just by if it was a good day or not, like if it was pleasant or not, because that's very much to do with the 8 worldly concerns. And often if we've had a really challenging day, or if things have gone wrong, we just go, oh, it was a horrible day. But actually, really what we mean, it was an unpleasant day. But it could have been a very, very good day in terms of the effort you put in to develop your mind, or the effort you put in to practice patience. So we've got to distinguish between a pleasant day and a good day, because it might have been an unpleasant day, but your kindness, you didn't leave your kindness behind. Your kindness came with your keys and off you went. And no matter what, you didn't retaliate. You did show kindness. You come home and you're completely exhausted, wrung out like a train's run over you, and you just go, that was a great day. I didn't lose my bodhisattva attitude. It was a great day, but I'm exhausted. So rating our day, if you had a 5-star day, it's to do with our success in the bodhisattva practice. Because often, you know, if we have a nice day, just go, oh, that was such a great day. That was so fun. It's like, what's the show for it? It was just fun, and then it's over. What was it for? I can say that because I've spent a lot of time just having fun, and then it's over. And I had this niggling thought in the back of my mind, but what's it for? What is the point of having fun? Because it's there and then it's gone. And, you know, when I die, then it's finished. So what was the point of that? So there's definitely something more in there. And then when we look at the day, we go, okay, so yeah, it was a terrible day, but I did well. So fantastic, 5 stars. Then regret and rejoice. So you can have your little piles of pebbles. Sometimes you might put all the things that you regret, that's the black pebble pile, and it might be really large, and all the things that you're rejoicing about, that you're happy about, it's just a couple. And the piles, there's a big discrepancy there. So what you want is the white pile to get bigger and the black pile to get smaller. But again, don't get too hard on yourself, because this is a work in progress. So we have to keep ourselves enthusiastic and progressing. So congratulate yourself on the positive things. And it means appreciate the effort that you put in, not just whether you were able to do the thing or not, but appreciate the effort and take a moment and pause and actually go, yes, I put effort in there, regardless of whether it worked or not, doesn't matter. So what you're doing, you're not just rejoicing in the good stuff, but you're rejoicing in the causes of the good stuff. That's the important thing, because just rejoicing in nice things happening, it's already over. So what we're really rejoicing in is where you put effort in, and acknowledge it and spend time and go, good on you. As if your closest friend was saying, good on you, that you did really well there. Because we need to bring focus to that, so it becomes familiar to us, so we're more likely to do it again. If we rush over it, we will forget, we won't do it again. And then with the negative things, the very minimum to do, to look at the negative thing, acknowledge, yeah, I stuffed up, I made a mistake, I said that thing, I shouldn't have done that, that all went wrong. What's one thing I could do better or change? So instead of collapsing in on yourself and catastrophizing, to just think, okay, one thing I can do, just a 1% change tomorrow, something that I can do easily, 1% change. And then the next day you do another % change, and the next day and the next day, and that way you really make progress. Just one thing that you can do better. And it keeps your courage up. So that's the minimum for the bookends of the day, and you can just do it as you put your head on the pillow. If you want something more, then you do the 4 opponent powers, the power of repudiation. Talk to the hand. So you put a stop to the negativity, and it fixes the mistake straight away. It means whatever negative karma we created won't snowball, won't accumulate. So the 4 opponent powers, we need all 4 pieces. And what you'll find is that you do some of them automatically, naturally, they come naturally, and others we forget to do very easily. It's not just a Buddhist practice. This is across the board, the 4 opponent powers. It's a universal practice. But what we don't do universally is use all 4 together. And so then the purification doesn't happen. We keep falling back again. So it's important that we do this so that when we look at our mistakes, we have the courage to recognize we've made a mistake, and then we don't get stuck in guilt. We can use our regret to change. It gives us energy rather than gets us stuck in guilt and self-recrimination and being really judgmental about ourselves. So Buddhist point of view, we use the 4 opponent powers. If you're not Buddhist, you'd use just making amends or apologizing or getting feedback from others. There's different ways that we've got kind of worldly ways, but the 4 opponent powers, regret, because we know we've put in place causes for future suffering and we feel we don't want to experience that suffering. Reliance, that's the refuge. Where is my refuge? Where am I looking for help? It's not in our materialistic society, it's looking within. It's looking to the 3 rare sublime ones. Remedy. So remedy is often something like the Vajrasattva practice, but it can also be the speech blessing. Or it can be the reading the Lamrim. Any positive activity. And then restraint, you make a promise. I'm not going to do that activity for a specific amount of time. And that's what rewires our brain. So often we'll regret and we'll try and do a remedy, but not often do we have a reliance, do we take refuge and generate bodhicitta, and not often do we put in place a restraint, a determination, I'm not going to do the thing for an amount of time. But if we do all of these 4 opponent powers, it is like defusing a bomb. There's the bomb. We've set the bomb of our negative karma that's going to go off in the future. And now suddenly we can diffuse that bomb and it doesn't have to go off. So it's ultimate harm minimization. You can combine it with Vajrasattva practice or the speech blessing practice. Because both of those, and in the article, I think that I've put as part of the notes, quite briefly, Rinpoche goes through how you can do a very similar visualization as the Vajrasattva one with the speech blessing. So it becomes a full purification practice. So that's the end of the day. We can either just do the simple one, regret and rejoice, or we can do a bit more. Rinpoche says we're absolutely insane if we don't purify every night. It's this incredible practice that we have at our fingertips, and it diffuses all those bombs that we're setting continuously with our afflictions and confusion. So why wouldn't we do it? So then putting it all together, we've got the morning, the method, the speech blessing and the Lamrim recipe. Then if you have any daily commitments, so if you've been given a practice to do from Rinpoche, or if you've taken an initiation, you've got daily commitments, or if you're doing Discovering Buddhism, in that unit 8, establishing a daily practice, that's when you start doing the Shakimuni Buddha meditation. So then that daily would be like you take it on as a daily commitment. Nice to do it in the morning. And then getting dressed up as a bodhisattva. During the day, offer your food and your coffee and do a little bit what you can of a sutra reading. So if you can read the Heart Sutra out loud to bless your environment, or if you have the Sutra of Golden Light, just read a page or half a page each day to bless the environment. And then His Holiness the Dalai Lama many times has said, spend 2 minutes, just 2 minutes on meditating on emptiness and bodhicitta. And you can do that over your coffee, you know, it doesn't have to be a formal practice. Of course, it's great if it is, but to start nicely where you're comfortable, where you're relaxed, where your mind is clear, and then spend 2 minutes meditating on emptiness and bodhicitta during the day. And then the evening, regret and rejoice, 4 opponent powers, and whatever other commitments. And you can roll your commitments one into the other. You can kind of do them in little packages. So this is then a comprehensive way that you can build on. You've got good in the beginning, the middle, and the end. So we've got a little bit of time of, if you've got questions about how to put whatever other things that you're doing in the day, where to put them in. So what questions do you have about that, putting it together as a daily practice? All good? No, surely there's questions.
I guess where does like water bowl offering fit in? Like what would a morning for a layperson who hasn't taken refuge yet look like?
Yeah. You do your water bowls before you sit down to do your practice. And actually Venerable Rabina's put it so nicely. She says, how can you have a cup of tea, Miffy, before you've offered Buddha? And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I have my coffee first and then I do the water bowls. But actually, she's got a point. It's like the first thing offerings to the Buddhas and then offerings, you know. So you just do what you can do. But generally you'd arrange, and you'll do this in establishing a daily practice, but you arrange all the altar and the offerings and everything, so you get everything nice. And it's almost like that's the putting the fuel in the tank, making the offerings. Then you sit down and do whatever practice it is. So then you do your Lamrim, glance meditation, and blessing the speech. In a perfect world. And then at the end of the night, then you'd empty the water bowls. Or like Lama Zopa Rinpoche likes, then actually in the morning you empty the bowls and refill so that they're there for 24 hours. And I mean, you can be reciting mantras while you're doing those things. It's not like you have to do them boxy like this, then this, then this, then this. You can kind of meld them together. So even like I don't have water bowls in my house because we have water bowls at the center and I live at the center. So there's the standard altar with the great big huge water bowls, and I don't do water bowls at my house. But what I've got is a pond in the garden with Zambala in it. So I do the watering the Zambala with the hose. and do some, mantras and things then. So I think your practice can kind of change over time as well. What else? Jill, did you have a question?
I was just thinking, so you could water the plants then?
Yes. So when you're watering the plants, then if you can, you generate as Chenrezig, because Chenrezig has the right hand with the nectar that comes down, liberating all the beings from the lower realms. So it just looks like a hose, but actually it's Chenrezig's hand with the nectar watering the lower realms. And even if you don't have a Chenrezig initiation, then think that Chenrezig is holding your hand, holding the hose, or you're holding Chenrezig's hand, holding the hose, and you're both watering the lower realms with the blissful, the beautiful cooling nectar while you're watering the garden.
Okay, well, that's better than water bowls. It's better than water bowls just sitting there.
Yeah. Well, and because I hated watering the garden until I got something nice like this to do, and now it's like one of my favorite things.
Interesting. Thank you.
Some final questions or comments?
And then, I mean, even if you've got, if you've got various mantras, you can say all the Tara mantras together. When we're collecting the mantras for Lama Zopa Rinpoche, the white Tara mantras, you can say green Tara mantras and white Tara mantras together. Then, there's the Chenrezig practice and Zambala that I do together, and then the Higher Griva protector practice kind of comes after that. So they're in nice like families that you can do together, because I'm sure they all hang out together like that in the Sambhogakaya form. You can walk into the kitchen and there's Tara sitting on the kitchen table swinging her leg, and white Tara on the other seat, and like they're all having a great time. So not like Toy Story where all the toys come alive when you look away, but actually the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are here. So why not think that they're right here in their Sambhogakaya form with us, helping us have a day. The other thing that I do, of course, is a lot of crochet. And so this is another thing with the everyday Dharma that I've been able to put it together, that you take your crochet hook, and it's your Manjushri sword of wisdom, and you hold the thread, the yarn, and that's like the continuity of the mind and unbroken. And so then you turn that moment by moment continuity into something, out of emptiness into something, into a life, taking the essence of this life. And so then you're building the life day by day, stitch by stitch. And so with the rhythm of the stitch, then I can say my mantras. So instead of just having a mala, then I've got the mantras. So Om Mani Padme Hum, that's for double crochets, works perfectly. And then when you make a mistake, it's great because you go, aha, I made a mistake. And you just undo it. And it just dissolves into emptiness. And so then you learn to let go of it.
I chant sometimes when I knit my sock.
There you go. That's it. So the whole path to enlightenment, you can find it in crochet.
It's my Buddha sock.
That's it. And then you dedicate everybody that sees the crochet, talks about the crochet, rolls their eyes about the crochet, goes, oh my God, there's too much crochet in the world about crochet. May they be liberated from all their spirit harms, negativities, illnesses in that very second, and attain enlightenment merely by seeing your Dharma sock. So whatever it is that you love doing, that's what you've got to hitchhike your Dharma practice to. And then that way you don't waste your time on the worldly stuff, because the worldly stuff becomes something really, really meaningful. And then you've got the momentum, because really what we forget about in the West is the joy of it, because I mean, like your center, so studious. I take my hat off to you. So it's such incredible students and dedication. And so you've got to be really careful that you don't lose the joy. And so that's why we've got to use all of those things that we really love doing, bring them into our Dharma practice. So so we can make a dedication about that then. We've come to the end of our 8 weeks together, 2 months. We've had 2 months together at midnight Dharma. I don't know what I'm going to do. How am I going to rock out on a Saturday night after this? Like, so let's just think that all of the ritual and putting it all together, it's like art. You know, if you go to an art gallery, you're going to look at the paintings, aren't you? You're not looking at the paint. You're looking at the paintings. And it doesn't matter if you understand it or not, it moves you. It has an effect on you. So that's the same thing with all of the ritual and the practices. We're not looking at the paint here, at the itty bitty stuff, what it's about. We're letting it work on us. We don't even have to understand it that much. We've got to let it work on us and move us. And then when we start finding out more and more about it and we learn about it, then it becomes even better. But we've got to remember the main gist of it, which is that it transforms our life. That's the main point. And so we've got to let it transform our life. And how fortunate are we to have Lama Zopa Rinpoche with his wonderful, perfect prescription for our daily life. We just do this, our Lamrim practice and the speech blessing. And even if we just have that, it's going to be enough. So let's dedicate that everything that we've talked about and studied, that we can bring it into our life, that we can do so joyously, that we can delight the Guru and incorporate it into our life so that we can bring it into reality. All of this ritual we can bring into reality, become a Buddha for the benefit of all. And may our joy continue, like pull us along so that we can keep on doing it. And I'd particularly like to say thank you, Lars, because you've been such a nice, friendly host and a fellow SPC. Like, it's a huge, huge job, and you do it so gently and kindly, and look a little tired sometimes, but never stressed. And you know, like I'm just so very, very impressed, and so happy that there's SPCs like you in the world. I think it's fantastic. And so I'd like everybody to support Lars and the centre, because we need our Dharma centres, don't we? They're our home. They're our home away from home, our real Dharma home. So whatever we can do, even if it's just cutting out the Dharma burning to keep our centres flourishing, and all of you wonderful volunteers at them, then we'll be right. Then we'll be able to do the job, isn't it? Bring all beings to enlightenment in this lifetime.
Yes, thank you for those kind words. I'm almost speechless. And so I would actually like to return all of those kind words and say from everyone here at Laksam, both the volunteers and everybody joining the teachings, it's been a wonderful ride with all of those 8 weeks, 2 months. I've learned so much and really have to revise some of my daily practice and gotten inspired and motivated, and also motivating as an SPC how I can be more authentic and joyous and alive. And so I'm also looking forward to the to the Chidamani Tara practice on April 30th in a little month. And I have some sort of thought that we might cross our paths again for future teachings as well. And you do have an open invitation to join us in person at the center whenever you're traveling to Europe. be so
the moment I
fantastic
could travel, I'm there.
to show you around in the city of Zurich and do some sort of practice with you in the center. And so from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, Mifi, for joining us and giving us teachings. And thank you also for all of you joining us today and bringing hearts and prayer wheels and good questions. Thank you for being here. Also for those of you watching on the videos, and time to say goodbye for now. Bye, everyone.
All the best. Stay in touch with the heart if it's not just face to face, and no doubt we'll meet again sooner or later. So so wonderful to have met you all and see you again soon.